Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. So,
Okay.
Zach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know this was the way to go? So that's what you do for a living, please.
Sure. So I own a horse facility in the Bay Area. We're like 3 minutes from the San Francisco Zoo, right on the coastline with unobstructed views of the ocean, trail rides down to the beach. We do a horsemanship school, trail rides. We have lessons. We have pods that are going on the back where people can stay overnight. Food aspects. We do weddings, events. So it's basically a tiny guest ranch in the Bay Area. So
Yeah, that's
that's what we
amazing.
do.
That because I am so much of an indoor guy. The COVID lockdown didn't have any effect on me. Like that's so I always love talking to people like you. It's always an interesting discussion. And were you walking on the street one day and you were like, "Let me own a horse ranch or something"? Or does
It all started with a girl when I was in high school. She liked horses, I liked her, so and it moved
yeah.
on from there. I joined the military, cowboyed on the weekends. Got out of that, was going to college, didn't have direction. The horses were something that made me feel present. It kind of
I
helped me
mean,
through
in
my
all fairness, and I'm
PTSD.
sorry to interrupt you, but you look barely 18. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm in my early 30s, and did military business. Yeah, quite a lot of different things. I'm also into tech as well. I
tech?
hold a tech. Yeah, yeah. So I hold a job with enterprise resource planning software as
Okay.
well. So the technology that goes into running a business appropriately, which obviously I roll that into my business practices as well. And it's another reason why my businesses do so well.
We are going to talk about your businesses, but before that, I want to cover a third question real quick. Sure you've noticed that too. You've noticed how the people tend to go to colleges, universities, because they have this kind of a stigma that once you have the diploma, things will be way easier and everything will be way better. And that's not really the case. And I'm sure you've noticed that too. And once they're in college or in university, they just grab the first thing they have and then they graduated, and it's not a lot of times it's not even for them. And then they start working in that field, it's not even for them again, and end up being miserable. And I'm not even talking about loss of money because I'm pretty sure you've lost money, I've lost money. No, losing friends, relationships, it's part of life. That's pretty normal. But they are losing a lot of time, and it's quite an issue, and that's why I'm actually trying to address it. So you mentioned that you were in the military. That's a pretty huge institution. Doesn't matter which country you're from. Military is very rooted institution. So from there you could have moved wherever you want, basically. But you decided to go in the direction you currently are in. And how did you know that this was the way to go? Was this a gut feeling? Were you influenced by a mentor, your parents? What happened?
Yeah, coming out of the military, I did go to college. I was going to college, trying to, pursue what you would think is the normal route. Yeah, while I was doing that, I was working with you could call him a mentor, a guy who tipped Mustangs, which is just the process of getting them gentle enough for them to go into society, like wild Mustangs, and that was how I felt, present. It was a good moment for me to um, get out of the past and get out of the future and just hone in on what I was doing there with the horses. I appreciated that a lot. So I looked at what did I learn in the military. I had land navigation skills. I had tracking skills. I had horse training skills, and I put that together and started a business with horses. Just kind of basically looking at it like, okay, this makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's a passion. How do I make money with it now? And so that was my first, goal.
No, that's a good direction. and you feel different. It's different. You know what I mean? It's different when you do something you really love.
Yeah, no, it's if you're doing something you're passionate about, some of the struggles you get doing business is first you have that imposter syndrome. You're really trying to make something happen, and everybody's telling you, "Don't do that. Go back to school. Get the degree. Go the normal route because this is what's safe." And so you have all of the people everywhere telling you no, and then you get to a point where you're actually pretty dang good at it, and people recognize that. And that's the next step of like issues is okay, now people want to hire you to do what you're doing for them rather than you doing your own thing. And so then you have to get past the part. First, you get past the nobody thinks you can do it. Then you get past the part where everybody knows you can do it, but they all want to hire you away. So how do you hold on to your dream when somebody's offering you a really good deal? Then you get past that point, and you get to the point where you've made it, and sometimes you make it, but then is that the final stage? Because I know that I thought I made it when I got my first business up, and I'm so far ahead of where I was there when I thought that was the pinnacle of success. And if I didn't keep pushing myself, I wouldn't have found these new barriers to break through. So, yeah, there's just a lot of barriers when it comes to business. You have to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, learning is a never-ending process, and you don't really stop when you make it, because there's always the next step. Uh,
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the businesses that you created and started. Can you give me an example? What was the biggest difficulty that you had? How were you able to overcome it?
I mean, there were tons of difficulties.
I'm sure.
So are we talking like first stage, early business,
Whichever
or
you
are we
decide
talking
is best.
like early on, the biggest thing was like who's going to give you an opportunity when you're fresh and new in an industry. So there was a lot of fake it till you make it. Say that you can do something for a contract even though you didn't have the resources to do so. Once they give you the contract, then you had to go make the resources and get everything together and actually follow through and complete that contract appropriately. Even in the horse industry, that was something that I had to do. I had to be willing to take on a deal where they're like, okay, we're going to need 14 horses for this pack trip, so that you can get all of these people out for this experience. And I'm like, heck yeah, I could do that. You just got to pay me up front, half of it, and we're good to go. And then I roll into my facility where I only had 4 horses, buy 10 more horses before this thing happened, and make the thing happen before the deadline. So that was strenuous. A lot of ups and downs on early stage, just trying to make it, trying to get those contracts and fulfill them. Then later on, one of the big ones was COVID hit. We made it through COVID just barely, and then towards the end of it, lost a huge facility. We had a 300-acre facility. 70 horses there, dozens of employees, and almost overnight collapsed. And I pivoted
Were
and
you
rebranded.
forced to close it?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was a contract, and the contract, we ended up having some issues and disputes, and maybe it had something to do with us staying open during COVID, which we probably should, again,
I mean,
staying out.
different countries have different rules. I think I said it here, or else I don't remember now. But like the whole COVID, the whole pandemic, I think I had just like one mask, and I don't even remember putting it on my face. It was mostly on my wrist, because it wasn't really that serious here. But like in Sweden, things were different.
Yeah, and the government had their idea of how they wanted things to go, and either did it or didn't do it, and when you have a government contract that gives you the land that you're
Yeah,
using to run your business, you should probably follow the rules. Anyway,
yeah.
so I didn't, but we ended up having to cut ties. We had 2 weeks to move all of our horses and all of our stuff, and I pivoted and started another facility. And within a month from that, I was back up and running. But that was a really when you fail that hard, when something like that hits, nobody expected me to come out of the embers and reappear just a month or two later. They thought that was the murder of my business. They thought I was out. And I could say that most people would have taken that and just, kind of taken the nest egg of money that I've made and retired somewhere and just tucked my tail. Glad I didn't, because from
Yeah.
that I was able to grow, and now I have multi-million-dollar horse facility in San Francisco area, just a few, short years later. So
No, it's pretty amazing story. It's remarkable. I have seen personally, and from different countries as well. I have seen men that were tremendously strong, like physically, like superheroes. And and once they retire, it's just like the whole thing collapses within 4 to 5 years. And I'm talking about really, really tough guys, like pretty
yeah,
strong. And just doing nothing for 3, 4, sometimes 5 years, you can tell the difference. And it's frightening. I'm very happy that I will never retire. Probably I never will because
yeah.
I like my life a lot, and it's like a slow death, man. And I don't want to be dramatic. I don't want to be
That's
done.
exactly it. Retirement is death. It is. It's
Yeah.
got to
Um,
have purpose. Got to have something to thrive towards.
stop reading my mind. You're scaring me. I was about to ask, what is the biggest thing that motivates you? Because again, you you were hit pretty hard. You were able to find a solution. But again, you could have done any number of things. What is the thing that motivates you a lot? Is this like an inner compass, something else? What is it?
There's a couple things. I have my family, and so I can't fail for their sake. I
Okay.
want my daughter to see this world is something where she can go out and do whatever she wants. Like when she looks at her dad and knows that he made it big with horses of all things. The one thing that you go into the horse industry, you lose money. You don't go into it to make money, and I figured it out, right? And I want her to see that not only that, I follow through with everything I say. I grow and build. If I say that I'm going to be at the top of this industry, I'm not going to fail until I'm at the top. And honestly, I made it to the top right before COVID. I had the biggest facility in Northern California, and then I fail and when I fail from the top, now I can't quit at the bottom. I have to build myself back up, which I have. And now I'm back at the top. I could happily put my cowboy hat up now and just be good, but I've got more, and I I want to see my family look at me and know that this is the standard and have my daughter go into this world and be a fighter. And on top of that, I'm ego driven too. I love
Yeah.
competition. I'm a big competition guy. And you throw competition at me. If somebody's doing it, I can do it. And if I put my, self in the ring and I'm playing it, I'm playing to win. So I want to be on the top.
I wouldn't call it ego. Uh,
Uh,
ego is easily wounded. You obviously are.
true, true, true.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I wouldn't really call it ego. You're just a competitive guy, like in sports. I mean, clearly you have to, think a lot about you. Otherwise, if it's not here, you can't make it. So yeah, but it has courage, that there's a reason for you to believe you can make it. That's because you
Yeah.
know you can make it. So I definitely wouldn't call it ego.
Yeah, what I would call it is, competition drives me,
Yeah.
and if I feel like I'm lagging, or if I see somebody just doing more, it motivates me to push harder. So I like that friendly competition. I like seeing other people doing this. I love collaborating with other business people and other people in the peers of mine in the horse industry. See what they're doing, and when they do better, I'm just like, oh man, all right, let's go. Like I'll push myself further and try to be right there with them on the way up. So
And that's the right way to go. I want to ask you because I'm sure you've noticed that. I'm sure you have friends that are in that situation, or just people that are in that situation. How do you get to balance work life? Because you have a kid, wife, and everything. They do kind of want to be around you, and I'm pretty sure you don't have a 9 to 5 job. I mean, you can't just maintain all the horses and everything, and to start at 8 and to finish at 5. It definitely takes sometimes. I believe it takes a lot of time, but how do you get to balance that?
I mean, I'm going to throw a wrench in that. I have a 9 to 5. I work for a tech company doing enterprise resource planning software, and I have my company that has
Yeah.
many employees that I have to run and manage, and I have my family. Now, the secret to this all is my wife is also hyper passionate about horses and business. She is my managing partner, and
Wait,
so
so
her and
your wife is the girl you fell in love with? Is that it?
she is not the original. No, no, there was one early
So
on that
you
I
found
liked.
another horse girl.
I just keep finding them. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
this is my final one, and she's amazing. And she,
hopefully.
yeah, no, not hopefully, absolutely, yeah. And she manages the day to day at the facility. She is a horse trainer right beside me, so we
Amazing.
collaborate on everything. We bring our daughter to the ranch every day. My daughter at age 1 was riding horses, so and she's almost 3 now. Yeah, I mean, work-life balance works really well when your wife is a workaholic and has the same passion and drive as you do. So,
No, definitely, especially if I didn't know that, but it's pretty amazing that you get your kid over there. So, no, hopefully in some time that she will take over.
she already has taken over. I mean, again, we did this early on together, as we were, bootstrapping the early stage business. I had my a small version of my business before my wife came into it, but I was kind of just cowboying, shooting from the hip. Then my wife came in, and we really put some organization to the business. So without her, I would still just be a cowboy with my little cowboy business. Now we have a huge company. So I would say early on, she came and took charge and became a full partner. Before we even got married, I gave her half my business, and that was the first time I told her I'm going to be with you for the rest of my life. So
You guys have, excuse me, just, I mean, it's like 0 degree in the morning and 21, 22 in the afternoon, and Montreal is killing me right now.
no worries.
You guys did it the right way. I've noticed, and it's like an epidemic, man. I've noticed that people, when they get married, they they don't really do it. They don't even have a bank account. They have a separate bank accounts. They have
Yeah,
everything is separate. Now, I'm not married. I kind of want to be, but I'm not sure about it, so that's why I'm not. But
you'd be the separate bank account marriage, huh?
everything is separate. Everything,
It's crazy.
every single thing. And at this point, why are you even marrying her?
Yeah,
The,
that's exactly right.
the concept of marriage is, and I'm a religious man. I'm a Orthodox Christian, Southern Europe. So at least that's how I was taught when I was younger. You basically get together to be one in front of God, church, whatever you believe in. But everything is separate. They have separate accounts. They have separate everything. Even even the cars, because most families here have at least two cars. One for the man, one for the woman. They don't even buy the cars together. And it's pretty odd. And you guys did the right thing. And that's absurdly important because every child somehow grow well, not somehow, every child grows up way better when it's protected, in the family.
Yeah.
And you did it perfectly, man.
Yeah, and I see that the friends of mine that are successful, that are doing multiple businesses and really growing their family empire, they have a strong family dynamic, and I think that getting that partner in life is almost critical to your success, because one person can only do so much.
Yeah.
Two people can do an amplified amount, but only if they fully trust each other. It's just like getting a partner in
Yeah.
business. You get a partner in business, and you and that partner now are amplified. You guys can get a lot more done. You can build something more, or if you get multiple partners. But if you don't pick the right one, that's a detriment to your entire company, and it could fail off of that basis. Not that I looked at my partnership with my wife as a partnership in business, but it actually started as one before we got married. Like we were in love with each other. We did everything together. We had the same passions. Everything was great, but I also saw the value in her being my business partner, and I made her a partner, and then it was a few years later that I married her. So
No, trust is ridiculously important. And no, okay, so I'm like the only person from my family that doesn't have a divorce. Now, I don't have a divorce because I'm not married.
Yeah.
And I have known a lot of people. A lot. They have those pre-marriage contracts. They're longer than my bookcase.
Yeah.
And everything, like I had talked to a few attorneys. They list even how many, pair of socks, shirts, everything is listed there. There's such a tremendous lack of trust. I don't even treat my enemies that bad. That's ridiculous.
I didn't have a prenup, but I also only had a few horses and a backpack to my name when we got together. So our wealth was built together
Yeah.
as a family. So there was no reason for a prenup. I don't know if I would have done that differently if I already had wealth. I probably would have just to secure what I've created beforehand. Obviously, I trust my wife completely, but
As
I
you
also have
should.
some good attorneys, and like my attorneys would have told me to do it differently. I had no attorneys when we first got married because we
Yeah.
had nothing. So I could see why people do it to secure the wealth that you've created
Fair enough.
prior. Yeah, but then everything you build with your family unit from that point forward is collective, and that should be a fair way to go about it. But
True.
yeah.
Like for example, I own property, and yeah, if I am to be married, probably I will sign up a solid contract. Although, things in Europe are a little bit different because by law, you are entitled to what you had before marriage. Like
Okay.
nobody can take that from you.
So you would not need the prenup for that reason. In America, we could pretty much just say that your stuff is divvied and owned equally, unless you have a prenup that kind of
Uh,
secures the stuff you had prior. So
but that's, because America's huge, right? So
yeah,
different states have different laws, from what I know, of course.
yeah. I mean, there's the federal overlords, and then from there you have your state and then city regulations. I live in California, where if you're just with somebody for 10 years, not even married, you're just with each other for 10 years, common law marriage basically, and they have entitlement to your stuff. So
What if you don't have children?
yep, even without children, you just live with somebody for 10 years in the same household. They have common law rights to your stuff.
I don't know. I guess it makes sense. I have,
So, and a prenup would work in a
yeah.
lot of cases. Yeah.
Well, no, so thankfully things here are different. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's thankfully or not. I'm just, it depends on the situation.
Some
Uh,
things are better, some things are worse.
true, true. I have one last question, and I never put it, in the invitation when I'm inviting people here. I'm sure you can talk for hours about this, but if you can give me just one, I need just one advice. My audience is basically people that are in college now. Is this thing for me? Or they just started a job? Is this job for me? I don't feel like it's for me. If you can give those people one advice, what will it be?
Okay. So if you follow a passion, the money will come. Like if you don't quit, eventually you'll win. And the horses are my passion, and that's my goal, and that's what I stuck to. Find something that you could be willing to do for the rest of your fucking life because you got to work, you got to do something. So find the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life, and then do whatever you need to do to create that job to be something that's sustainable. I would, I mean, if we had an hour to talk about it, I could talk you through all of the crazy things that I had to do to actually get my business up and running. Like
I'm
I,
scheduling part two.
all right, well, we'll schedule part two. There was a lot that went into it. It was a war to get to the point where I could finally sustain myself off of my horse business, which I have a dozen employees. I could easily do any one of their job, take two of them off there, live off of that money, pay myself a W-2. I could do that. Or I could just let the thing run and take the dividends. It's right now it's a self-sustaining machine. It runs itself and it's amazing. I just go there and I train horses as I please. It's very fulfilling now. But I would have scrubbed toilets to get myself to this point. You couldn't have, there's not a dirty job in the world that I wouldn't have done to succeed at the final goal of having my business, having my passion be my business. So
And
really,
that
it's
builds character too.
do every job, any job. My biggest philosophy is how can I help? And if you have that, I will go into any situation and be as helpful as I possibly can, knowing my end goal is horses. But I'll go in and I will better whatever situation I'm in. I'll be the best employee that that person had, where they're going to hate to lose me when I finally leave. Because again, my end goal is the horses, and I will do all of these other jobs to get there. And most of what I did when it came to jobs was thinking, what skill set do I need to be better at the business that I'm trying to run? And so I would go get jobs, at other facilities to learn things about the horse business. Or right now, I do enterprise resource planning software. I went to school for computer science. I wanted to understand the whole business scope, and I wanted to understand how to add software to my company to make it better. So I dedicated my life to this whole other thing, which then stemmed back to making my horse business better. So, what kind of job should you get? Whatever the hell job will make you better at your final goal. And just keep doing all of the odd jobs, all of the side jobs, every job that will make you better. Even when you go, if you had to work at McDonald's, go work at McDonald's and find out how they put together processes that make it so that they can scale to the entire fucking world. Like, instead of going to get this job just for the money, yes, you need the money to survive and to grow your business. Also, figure out what can I learn from each one of these aspects. If you can pull all that together and actually succeed at the thing that you're willing to do for the rest of your life, you're going to look back on the 10 years of you just doing odd jobs and be like, that was so fucking satisfying.
You couldn't be more right. I remember now it's funny. Back then it wasn't. Because when I finished high school and I went to my parents and said, listen, guys, so I want to travel. So I was thinking like Italy, Portugal, Brazil, Mexico, something like that. And back then that was 17 years ago, something like that. 16, 17, something like that. And my mom came to me and said, listen, Junior, you're way too good looking to be a construction worker. If you're not a waiter or a bartender within the next 2 weeks, you're out of here.
Yeah.
And so that's how I became a bartender. And after that, I moved to work for Subways, the sandwiches. And that was before I moved to Denmark. So, yeah, I guarantee you that you're absolutely right. There is no such thing as a dirty job when it comes to that. You learn, even there, you learn methodology, and it's super useful later on.
Yeah, as long as you could pull something from each experience, it's not a wasted experience. It's when you start to just do mundane tasks without thinking that you're wasting your
Yeah.
time. And the moment you start doing that, drop that job, go find another odd job where you can start thinking again. You can start learning something new. As long as you're constantly learning, do any job and every job that can get you propelled towards that final goal. That's my advice to young people that are, thinking, what can I do? What can you do? Pick a big fucking goal. Shoot for the moon or shoot for Mars, and then do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Do whatever it takes to build stack those skills to get to the point where you can actually get there. So,
An amazing advice. I wouldn't say angry, but more like annoyed by, not our generation. I'm 33 now. I'm about to be 34 in,
same as me. Same as me.
yeah. But the generation before me and the generation before them, they had this whole thing like 30, 40 years in the same factory, doing the same thing. And, you know, stuff happens, all right? And the factory closes. And I've always hated an argument like, I've worked there for 30 years now, I can't find a new job. No, you did not. You learned something in your first month and you did it for 40 years. You didn't do like this to improve yourself. You had a
Yeah.
nice salary because, factories pay pretty well, especially if you're on the coastline. That's good money right there. But, you just stood on one place. Well, what do you expect to happen? So your advice is spot on.
What when people ask me what I do, it's I work with horses, and I've been doing that for 14 years. Now, I've had 20 different things that I've done in that time, but I don't relate that to what I do. I've done the same thing
No, it was
for
the
for
me
a
too then.
decade. Yeah, I've done the same thing for a decade, but I did all of these other things so that I can keep doing the horse thing. Now, if I wrote a book on my story, it would be, military, and then it would be school, and then it would be like, how did I leverage school to get money to be able to start that business? And then how did I get that business from being just me and a couple horses to being a scalable, business with SOPs and,
Well,
and
you should write
employees?
that book.
You should write it for me. And then,
Fair
I'm
enough.
kidding.
I've always wanted to be the ghostwriter, but I can just settle for a
See,
ghostwriter.
you could be the ghostwriter, and we could write a great book on the story.
I'm totally fine with that. I do have those few books here as a reminder to always keep it short. I don't know if you're a fan of pre-revolutionary Russian literature. This is Dostoevsky, and I had to read him, and I hated it. I still hate.
Yeah,
This is why I keep him here to remind
yeah,
to keep it short because it was way too long and covered. I don't even like Tolkien for the same reason. They're brilliant authors, but so I'm keeping it short. If you like that style, I'm all yours, man.
yeah. We can talk more about that. We'll talk more about that in part two of this
Right on.
conversation.
And I'm definitely having you for part two, and I really appreciate for you being here, man. I really appreciate that.
No, this has been great. Let me know what your audience wants to see, what questions they have. We could do a part two, and we can dial in on the specific questions that your audience has on
Just
me.
send me
So,
the links for everything that you want to share, and I'll put it in the description below.
yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Bye.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.